Welcome, everybody, to Industry of Impact. We're so happy you're joining us. And my dog is too, if you just heard her bark. Um, Industry of Impact is a LinkedIn Live series and podcast that is meant to shine a light on people who make a positive impact on people, on communities, on companies. We just think that no matter the industry, industrial to tech, food and beverage to consumer goods, that there are people out there who are making a positive impact. And this is set up because we love talking to them. We love sharing, getting to know people and sharing their stories. Our hope is that with our guests, you'll connect with them directly and check out their companies, and that you'll walk away with some inspiration, some ideas, some actionable steps that will enhance your business and your life. So that being said, my name is Mark Berger with AMI. I am joined, my co-host today, at least in catty corner from me on my screen, is Julian Meir. He's the CEO of AMI. And our guests today, which we're super hyped about, are the automation ladies. And that is Nikki Gonzales and, Alicia Gilpin. But do you prefer Ali?
I do go by Ali G.
Ali G, yes. So, first of all, thank you guys very much for being here. How are you? I know you're both in separate areas, or cities, right? Seattle and Houston. But how are you today?
Pretty good. Ready for the new year.
Thanks for having us on.
Yes, holidays, big holiday plans coming.
Surviving.
I just bought my first Christmas present today. Thankfully, my husband's been taking care of all of it.
Awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I think we're in this weekend. We're in wrapping mode.
I cannot believe it's Christmas next week already.
I think you have to mail everything by this week in terms of getting it anywhere.
Oh yeah, I did get you something, Allie. This reminds me.
No,
I need to drop some stuff off.
I sent you a Christmas card.
Oh, I'm so excited. Nobody gets letters or cards anymore. I mean, not much anyway. So I always love it.
My mom makes them.
Oh,
yeah. You don't
it's
get
even better.
Same day delivery from Bezos directly in Seattle, there, Allie.
Yeah, I actually do for any gifts and stuff. I've done 7 hours to delivery. It's disturbing, in a good way.
Yeah,
right. We get them quickly here too, Mark. I don't know about you out where you are, but I'm surprised.
Lightning fast.
Yeah, I
wanted
hats for my kids, and they showed up same day.
Yep. Yeah, there have been. I've seen options for same day. I think maybe we've had one thing do that one time, but
I've seen windows that you can select 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. How?
And I want my Amazon driver to have a cup of coffee with me. Check that one.
Well, no, they delivered it at 4:30. I was like, they did it. Yeah.
Crazy. So tell everybody, or at least, I'm sure you're going to have people listening who know you. I've gotten to know you a little bit by listening to some of your podcasts. But how did you two meet?
On LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
I followed Allie, and I think I started commenting on her posts when she was at Pack Expo.
Okay.
Because I hadn't been to Pack Expo since 2016, and I miss the hardware and hearing mostly the sound of the pneumatics and stuff like that. I work in software now, so it's just different. And I just loved that she was taking there was videos of machines and different things that she was doing. And so we ended up chatting at some point through messaging. And that's how it started. I asked her if she needed something for her lab, I think, and I shipped her some cable.
Oh, nice. How long ago was that?
That was earlier.
Maybe a year and a half ago?
Yeah, whenever you went to Pack Expo, I guess, was...
Oh, yeah. My business is over a year now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a little bit over a year ago.
Okay.
We met each other.
Awesome. So, Automation Ladies is a podcast that you do together, but you each have your full-time job. So would you mind just telling us briefly who you work for and what you do? I think Ali, you're actually, like you said, your company, you're a founder and
yes,
owner.
I work for myself. Yay.
What is the company and what do y'all do?
So the company name is called Process and Controls Engineering LLC. It's super long name, but I made this sick hat. No, I'm just kidding. But I call it PCE LLC for short. So anytime I like shorthand it, I just put PCE in like different places that I like write it down. But I started it in 2018 as like a backup plan. I'm an engineer. I'm a controls engineer, and but I started in process engineering. My background is actually chemical engineering, and I went right into manufacturing, but I switched like the type of engineering I did in the manufacturing space, and I went more for like the computers and the automation and all the stuff behind me now, and I kind of fell in love with that stuff, and so I did a lot of jobs where I learned really fast and ended up, creating my business and kind of going out on my own and getting, my customers. And it's been an intense journey. But I didn't actually do the jump until like the middle of COVID. So that COVID definitely changed everybody.
Yeah.
And what about Nikki?
Yeah. So I work for Quotebeam. It's a startup. I'm the first employee. With the two co-founders, Andrew and Roman, I used to work with our CEO, Roman, back when I was at Festo. So I started my career as an industrial automation sales engineer, and I did machine vision for a while. And then I worked for Festo and did pneumatics and handling and motion. And both components and some, OEM like sub-assemblies and things like that. So and then I ended up going into software for design, electronics design, physics simulation stuff. And then I went to a startup that did data analytics and supply chain planning, using big data to be able to make more granular decisions about demand and being able to plan inventory and things like that. But we worked mostly in the entertainment industry. I was actually hired to that company as the first non-engineering hire, looking to expand their solution into industrial automation, which is what I know, or industrial manufacturing. But we had so much going on and so many projects and clients in the retail entertainment industry that I ended up doing project management, and working with Sony and Warner Brothers and stuff like that, things that I didn't really know anything about. But I'm definitely a lifelong learner type person. I have a lot of fun when I'm learning something new. So I did that for a while. And then when I had my daughter back in 2018, I actually ended up leaving the tech world for a while, and I flipped houses. I moved to Seattle. And the funny thing is I didn't meet Allie when we both lived in the same place. But pandemic kind of changed everything for me as well. And I ended up moving back to Houston for family reasons. And that's also the time they had been working on Quotebeam sort of on nights and weekends since 2017, but they decided to take it full time, probably around the same time that Allie did her business. And it just, timing was right. I had been following what they were doing and was really interested in it and wanted to kind of bring some of my knowledge about supply chains and industrial automation. And so we're building this online marketplace for industrial automation components. Particularly right now, it's so hard with the supply chain issues to find what you're looking for. So we're helping with that, as well as using data and technology to connect customers with the right distributors, and then help distributors move their excess inventory, and working on tools for better communication and project management around the procurement part of automation. Cool. Which largely is funny. Like, we work in very cool, robotics and automation stuff, on the factory floor. And then a lot of what goes on behind the scenes is just, your typical Excel sheet, email, PDF mess that takes everybody too long and is frustrating all around. Right?
That is hilarious. That's awesome.
Allie, what made you like jump from straight engineering to like your own entrepreneurial endeavor?
It was like an alignment of a lot of things. But I actually, as much as I rejected, my dad was in sales. So I actually was an engineer, and I was like, I just rejected sales. And just like that whole marketing. Oh, he was huge. He's like huge into digital marketing too. And I'm like, no, like, I don't want anything to do with marketing or sales for the longest time, until I figured out that I was like in my interviews, I was selling me. And I started figuring out that I was like, oh crap, I am doing sales. And then I'm like, oh crap, like the way that I present myself, like in the like social media world and like LinkedIn is marketing. And so I just kind of like, I don't know, it was an accident. But at the same time, I did have some friends that pushed me, because you always need that one friend. Because I had like every reason that everyone has for like what about 401k? What about my insurance? Like what about just what about everything? All these reasons why I should not do what I did anyway.
Yep.
And I had a friend that kind of was just like, even more reason you should do that. And I was so angry at that friend. And I would just be like, no, you got to stop saying this stuff. And like, eventually he did convince me that I could do it, because he showed me that he did it and that like other people could have done this, where they were engineers. It's rare, obviously, like, but you can do engineering. And then because of the way that you like represented yourself in your engineering job, it actually, you can be a business person. You can take it and become, the one that's selling that. I actually, towards the end of my engineering, like W-2 career, and I may go back, but I really hope not. But towards the end of that, I was actually doing like proposals. So I was like, deciding how much stuff was going to cost for all the types of work that I do. So I was a project manager, kind of, just because like there was a shortage. And I guess all that combination ended up with I don't know, something that's working, because I just got another customer yesterday and I'm in their preferred vendor system.
Good job, Allie.
So I don't have time for anything, but I'm stoked.
I know if you need moral support at 2:00 in the morning, just pick up the phone. Oh my God, we can commiserate about running our own businesses.
So go back further for both of you. What was the thing or things or people maybe that kind of inspired you to go towards the more technical route? The engineering route, the automation route. Like, can you kind of think back, like, well, what really kind of got me on that path early was what?
I'll go first. My dad, he's an electrical engineer that ended up starting his own business. Okay. I actually co-work out of his conference room now that we live close to each other. I worked for him since middle school through college. So I got to see, the sort of building of the small business and got to play every role that I started with writing user manuals. That was my first summer as an intern. And then I did some marketing material that I designed, printed, and stuffed into folders for a trade show, 300 of them. And they got handed out to real customers, and I was so proud of myself.
Awesome.
But that's how I started. And I ended up, I'm more of at school, I did better. It was easier for me to do well in the English and, the less technical subjects, right? But I did end up taking AP Physics. I was the only girl in my class. And I loved it. I really liked it. Like, the guys and I would eat lunch together before class and we'd play cards. And I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed problem solving. But I did see my dad as my role model a little bit more as a business owner at that point in time, rather than, purely technical. Yep. He ended up in that sort of thing by accident too. Like, he was an engineer that happened to sell really well, not on purpose, but he got promoted to marketing manager and he got, sort of went on this path. But yeah, that's what got me started. And I just didn't know. I as well was like, sales. Who wants to be a salesperson? That's terrible. Like, I would not want to do that. But then again, I accidentally made a sale when I was interning for my dad. And the customer was so happy about it. And it really, I loved it. So I was like, that's a thing. Technical sales, where really if you solve a problem well enough, then somebody will buy it. Right. And then I got lucky, I guess, that there were just a couple of companies hiring non-engineers for technical roles coming out of college. So I applied, to all three of them. Like there was not that many, but somebody would take me. I had a degree, and they taught me everything. And yeah, I've never looked back. It's an awesome industry that I really love.
Awesome. How about you, Allie?
So I actually spoke Spanish before I ever learned English.
Okay.
So English, even though now, like, I do think, like, the language you think in is your primary language, right? Like your first language. But my first language was Spanish. So because I was born in Mexico. So actually when I started school late because my parents forgot that, like, you have to send your kids to kindergarten. So, and I'm the oldest. So when they put me in kindergarten, I actually, like, wasn't ready for American kindergarten, English kindergarten. So I actually was in, like, English as a second language classes, and so, like, struggled actually. And so I don't know why, but I got, like, really insecure about writing and, like, reading, and I actually read really slow still. So I went the opposite direction where I was just like, well, I can't get outsmarted in math. So, like, I would just do better in math and science. And so it was more concrete. It was less, and I did take, like, AP English, but it was just hard.
Yeah.
And, like, literature, like, I can't read some of this stuff. I'm like, I have no idea what just was said in all of this literature. Like old English literature, like,
yeah.
but at the same time, like, I can read all this math. So it's just, it's just a way that you have an affinity for one or the other. So I started doing so well in, science and math, and just continued on with that, like, obviously people were like, well, you should be a scientist or a engineer. And I don't know why, but I did well in chemistry. And I, liked it still. I actually later didn't like it when I took it as an engineering degree, but that's why I chose chemical engineering. As an 18-year-old, I'm going to do chemical engineering just from, I had no idea what it was. And then nobody does. You can't actually tell an 18-year-old what it is without them seeing it. And you could describe it all you want, and they'd be like, oh, but they would never, ever actually get it. So I stumbled upon something awesome on accident. But I do remember, even before I got, like, good at math, that I would read the back of a shampoo bottle, and there would just be, like, crazy long chemical names. And I'm like, and I was so interested. I'm like, how could that possibly, whatever that is, get put in the shampoo? Like, and it's in all the shampoos. I'm like, look, all the shampoos have this stuff inside of it. So, I was curious anyway about chemicals and chemistry and how things were made. That's how I ended up here, I think.
Awesome.
Cool.
That is awesome. I am super pumped on how, your podcast, just by it being what it is, but I've heard you talk about it quite a bit, your advocacy for women in engineering and automation. And I love it. And I've heard you say this on your own podcast, but I would love for you to say it here. And that is, what would you say to young girls that even have an inkling of interest in pursuing that technical type of career?
Let's do it. I don't remember what we said on the podcast. But honestly, like, I mean, like most careers, right? It comes with its ups and downs and challenges. One of the challenges we have in our, in the manufacturing sector is that as women, oftentimes we end up being, one of a few in a room. I think we're at a point where there generally is at least a handful. It used to be maybe one, right? But these are also very physical in-person jobs usually, although controls and things like that are starting to be more, remote, flexible, with possibilities. But, if you're working at a plant floor, going into the factory or something like that, the people that are around you are, who you have to interact with. And when I first started, I was given a little warning by some of the sales guys that I went on joint calls with, like, this is just how it is. But some customers are going to be a-holes, and they're going to, not respect you for being a woman, or they'll think that you, don't know anything, or they might say stuff to you that you don't want to hear, or, things like that. And that still happens, but it's not the majority of the time. And what we want to say to girls that are coming into it, or women that are in it, you know, that maybe don't feel comfortable in their current place, like there's more of us here, even if they're not in your company or at your customer at the moment when you're, you know, physically there, we're here. And if you want to come, you know, talk to somebody that gets it, like we're here. You can share your stories. Like we found this sense of camaraderie with a bunch of ladies that are into automation and robotics, not because we're all, you know, not all women get along just because we're women or have stuff in common, but we have stuff in common and we're here. And we just want more, you know, we want the girls to know that they can do it and not to let those challenges like deter them away from doing what they want to do. And there's plenty of us out here. And now that we have the internet, we can easily find each other, even if they're not at your workplace. Yeah. And the other thing is there's tons of good companies now with good cultures out there in our industry. So if yours is not one of them, just move on. Like there's plenty of companies out there that want to hire you. You have a skill set that is highly valuable. And I think the companies, you know, like there's a shortage of talent right now. So culture matters. And there's plenty of companies out there that are working hard and doing it right. And so go find them.
Love it. Love it.
Excellent.
That is awesome. What else do I have? I have a lot.
Yeah, we do have a lot. I don't think we're going to fit into 30 minutes, but.
I knew it.
Yeah.
What do either of you see right now as far as kind of trends? I think, you know, probably, Ali, this is more on your side, is like, what do you see with robots and cobots in manufacturing facilities? And, you know, are there some specific trends that are like really happening? And I'm not asking, you know, for your secret sauce of like why your entrepreneurial endeavor is going really well right now, but, you know, is there some things that you're seeing right now that people should be aware of? Because like a lot of people talk about like they're terrified of all the jobs going away because robots and cobots are going to take over the world. So is there anything that you guys are seeing right now?
There's a shift, I think, and you know, I think we are actually, even though it doesn't seem like we are training up a lot of people on robotics.
Mm-hmm.
Like robotics technician jobs are blowing up because there's robotics everywhere blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
But the trend is really, and it's been happening for, you know, longer than just this year, but you know, these robots and commercially creating robots and making it like really easy to use, like started from the car manufacturers. So they got really good at using them. And then like the robotics OEMs got really good at producing and selling those like for those applications. And now what's blown up is everyone is reimagining everything with a robot. So it's not just even like manufacturing. People are putting robots in cafes because a robot can do anything that a human can do. It's just going to do it over and over and over and over and over again, and it doesn't run away unless it's a 7-axis robot. So it's normally a stationary thing that can do anything that a human standing there would do, and or like we can replicate that in larger, like we could pretend there's bigger humans because we can do like cars with some of these robots.
Mm-hmm.
Giant, you know, items we can move around. So I mean, I guess the trend, and then cobots obviously has blown up because people do want to kind of blend using, you know, like skilled workers with, especially welding, but skilled workers with you know, custom cells. And you have to be careful because it's a safety thing. So we're getting really smart about safety and producing like more safety products. But there's just so many companies that have either some software that like solves some like robotic problem, like Olus Connect, and like remote monitoring robot cells. But I don't know. I guess the trend is just openness, collaboration, and just like a lot more products in that space, like from so many companies in that space.
Cool.
Okay, and I'll go. Yeah, do you have anything on that, Nikki?
I was going to say, from what I've heard from Ali as well, and just observing the work you've been doing and stuff, cybersecurity is also huge.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big driver of work, right? Because a lot of it, along with doing cybersecurity assessments, penetration testing, things like that, planning, obsolescence planning. Hopefully manufacturers are doing these, but they're doing it, more. They're doing their safety assessments for things like that. And then they're having to upgrade equipment, right? So they're having to upgrade lines of PLCs, things like that. So there's a lot of controls work just in upgrading existing systems to be safer or more compliant, or to have modern components that are available to replace and things like that when the machines go down. So ton of work, I think, in adding robotics and automation to processes that are manual currently, and then also just updating, upgrading, and connecting the existing assets that are out there.
Yeah, they didn't used to always ask for a security portion to the proposal. Now it's integral to every time you even bid a job. So what is your plan for our safety in terms of, connectivity? So that is definitely a trend. That is a trend.
Yeah, definitely.
So a lot of what we offer relies on sensors. And a colleague of mine gave me a question to ask you, and that is, have you used IO-Link or seen it installed, and what are your thoughts on it?
I've seen it installed, and it's the future. Yeah. I guess we have this. I don't know if you guys are familiar, depending on the industry you come from, but we have what's called Industry 4.0, or the digital revolution, where we are squeezing as much data as we possibly can out of everything. But part of that involves having smarter sensors to begin with. What IO-Link is, just in layman's terms, is taking sensors that we already use in manufacturing, switches, transmitters, a flow meter, for example, these different sensors we're already using, and then we do need to use a little bit different hardware, but basically we are able to gather so much more than just with the same amount of cabling, even though now they use a different cable. But basically, if you upgrade to this IO-Link cable, and you use these IO-Link hardware pieces, they're called hubs or masters, with these new IO-Link compatible sensors, and now everybody makes them. They are very cool sensors. And that's the other thing about what's so cool about IO-Link, is that everybody makes an IO-Link. This is my cat, sorry. As everybody makes this IO-Link sensor, so everyone, and in the programming side, IO-Link has blocks made by the people that make those sensors, but everybody makes those sensors. So there's tons of these basically programming blocks for different PLC platforms. Those are industrial controller platforms. But anyway, long story short, it is thebomb.com.
Yeah, because when I looked into it a little bit, again, I'm not the tech person, but the sensors sensors by themselves, they're telling you whether it's there or not there. But there's so much more data to be had.
Yes.
And that's what you're going after with this, right?
Yes.
So so our business is industrial marking and coding. So putting, the lot code and expiration date on the bottom of the can, putting the label on the Amazon package in, Seattle, et cetera. And so I'd heard from a lot of people over the years that they didn't want connectivity to these printers on the line because, obviously if somebody can hack a printer, then they can cause a lot of problems, because all of a sudden, an Amazon facility for 3 weeks is, spitting out the wrong labels or labels with misinformation or whatever it is. So that was what I would always hear as the argument against why people didn't want any connectivity from outside coming to that printer at all, label printer, inkjet printer, whatever it was. So are you seeing a shift there, that cybersecurity has kind of gotten to a place where it's high enough, impenetrability, that people are rethinking that and saying we're okay with outside connectivity to these very important things?
I definitely think that people are companies are spending a lot of money on self-penetration testing, for their own companies. And so because we're doing that, and then we're actively find every hole, and then, but we're keeping those people on staff, and like, because there's new threats being created. So it's almost like this is a new permanent thing that we have to just like combat. And I know we're going to, produce more software that can like, I guess maybe get smarter than, we are with AI, but that's the big scary thing right now is.
From my perspective, what I've seen is that especially smaller to medium-sized manufacturers that don't have this capacity, right? They're not paying for pen tests. They still have a lot of the attitude of just don't connect it, we'll be okay. But that's changing because they are right now the targets of a lot of the hacking, and it's more less so for disrupting things like, I want to wreak havoc on the world by doing the wrong label on Amazon. It's just we're gonna lock up your machines or your data money. Or release your data for money. And they just don't know what to do other than keeping things not connected. But then a lot of the largest, most terrible, hacking incidents have been not as a result of something that was on the network, but of social engineering. And just because something isn't connected to the network doesn't mean that a hacker, if they really wanted to, embarrass Amazon and send out 1 billion packages that say something that they shouldn't, that person has a pretty specific goal that they want to accomplish. That printer does not have to be connected for them to do that. They find somebody that works there, talk to them.
Amazon has an army of cyber.
Like, them into plugging in their phone or USB or, something or other. And so just the technological piece of it is not enough. And I think that as we see all the benefits of connecting things, there's a shift to, okay, well, we're going to be doing it. How do we do it safely rather than continuing to think that just not doing it is going to keep us safe, because it's not.
Interesting. Yeah. I haven't seen that wave really hit our world yet. Even in the biggest manufacturers, it hasn't really hit the printer labeler world yet the same. So
yeah, and I mean, this is all like you talk about industry 4.0, right? And it's like companies that are building greenfield sites, like completely everything from scratch. Of course, everything is connected. Why would you not at this point? But there's such a scale to what the installed base of actual manufacturers is doing. There's a very big chasm, I think, in most cases between this marketing speak of like, oh, everything is great and connected, and we have a digital twin of our whole operation, and then truth is most people don't have anywhere close to that.
Right. Very interesting. Thank you for both of those answers.
All right. I don't want to take too much of your time. You guys are busy. So I want to wrap it up. Now, we have a traditional question, but I'm adding a Christmas question for you. And that is Die Hard. Christmas movie, yes or no?
Definitely.
Definitely?
I've got no opinion. I don't remember
that movie's amazing. It's definitely a Christmas movie.
In full.
Yeah, I'm with Nikki on that one.
And then our tradition is pineapple on pizza. Go.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes,
I used to be a hard no.
Okay.
This is really everybody can change.
I grew up in Hawaii. I don't care. We'll put up pineapple on anything.
Right. We got in the comments. Courtney Fernandez is a big yes on pineapple. Well, we can't thank you guys enough. We hope that our small part of the world that gets to see this tunes into your podcast. I'm going to advocate for a colleague of ours, Dina Dodds, to be on your podcast. She is. We call her #Label Chick. She is a labeling guru, and
cool.
She's very cool and probably one of the most technical people that I've met. And I always have to be like, can you come down? Because I
definitely the most technical woman that I've ever met in marking and coding, and we'll talk circles around like 98% of the industry. So
anyway,
I would love to have her on because I used to do laser marking for a little while. I never touched the ink labelers, but it's been a long time, and I would love to hear what is up in the world of labeling marking.
QR code world.
He's amazing. You'll have to book a 2-hour podcast.
I'd love to connect with both of you also and hear more about, especially the platform, Nikki, that you were talking about. Sounds super interesting. I'm not sure if there's a fit there for us, but definitely sounds
probably is
to learn more about it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things. So as of today, my main CTAs, if you're having trouble getting parts delivered, go to quotebeam.com. You might find the parts. If you don't, chat with us and we will help. We can try to help you find them. We have a lot of other things we're working on, but how can we add value right now, today? That's what we're doing.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. I hope you have a great holiday, a
You
great
too.
new year.
You guys too.
And we
Thank
look
you.
forward to talking again.
Yeah, really nice to meet you both. Thanks for your time.
Thanks,
You too,
guys.
guys.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you.